Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, December 6th, 2021. I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Othello School District Board of Directors. We will begin tonight with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We want to welcome all our guests that are with us here in the boardroom. Those of you that are online, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to watch us conduct our business tonight. Moving on to item A3, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
President, I would like to propose that we modify the agenda slightly. We flip B2 and B3 with each other, and then all else stays as is.
Okay, there's been a motion made to approve the agenda with the change or the swap of B2 and B3. Any further discussion? Can I get a second?
I will second that.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Is there any public comment tonight, Marissa? Nope. All right. Thank you. We can refresh now. Okay. Okay, item B2, board member discussion. Legislative report, Director Stevenson.
I failed to contact the new legislators for the new proposed district. I was kind of waiting to see what happened during our elections this evening, so that there was just the right person if there was going to be a change. So I propose that we actually discuss that right now. Since we have a board member that is not able to attend this evening, my view, instead of having the elections, we still can move forward with the oath of office for those that are present, but I know that next meeting we will have one board member is already not going to be able to attend, so we potentially move it to the first meeting in January, our elections, and keep our current officers until that time. That's my personal views, to have 5 of us. Easily having even numbers, that could become a 2-2 vote or something along those lines. I think it's better to have all of us present personally for that.
I agree with Jen.
Okay, yeah, I got no problem with that. We will have our annual elections, the first meeting in January, assuming we all confirm our attendance to that meeting. Okay. We have a national NSBA conference presentation from Elise.
Okay, so I have an idea that I wanted to present to you guys that I heard about in our student networking group.
Mike, did you get one of these things printed out? It's
So the name of it is NSBA, and they also refer to it as NSBA, kind of like WASDA, but Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C. So your second paper says, what is it? It is an opportunity for educational leaders, including school board members, to engage with their Congress, add their voice, explore and discuss the latest developments in key education policy and legislation, champion the interests of public K-12 students, advocate for educational priorities and federal policies, and network with colleagues from across the country. The difference between this conference and the one we may attend in San Diego is that this conference will be more of an advocacy-focused conference with opportunities to communicate with the nation's school-associated representatives and legislators, whereas the conference in San Diego is an annual conference, more like what we just went to with WASDA. I think attending both will help our school board learn, network, and come home more passionate about improving our schools. Listening to other schools across the country gives us the opportunity to hear what others are doing and bring it home to better our own district. We would also be given the opportunity to share a little at a national level about things in our own district and Washington State. When is it? This conference mainly takes place on January 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2022. The 23rd and 24th are the conference format events. The 25th is what's referred to as a day on the Hill to meet with U.S. senators and representatives. There's also a pre-conference on the 22nd of January that I'll talk about in a little bit. Why should we attend? This essentially is an opportunity kind of similar to WASDA conference. We just attended, but at a national level. It would be an amazing opportunity for any member of the board to learn about what's happening outside of just Washington State. Not only would we learn these new things, but we would also bring new information home with us to teach everyone to help better our board. So now a little bit about the fees. Just from what I know right now, to attend the conference is $695 for January 23rd through 25th because we missed the pre-registration. And then the pre-conference on the 22nd is roughly an additional $100. As a school board, we might consider the NSBA event as a district field trip in compliance with board policy / procedure 2320, which I had but forgot to bring with me. Additionally, there's gonna be, if we go, flight and hotel fees. Now I'll talk about why student representatives might attend. As a student rep on the board for 3 years, I admit I have not done as much as I would have liked. However, I'm trying to better myself in my role along with bringing forth new ideas to the board. The annual WASDA conference we attended brought forth so much new information on how I can do this. I believe by attending this conference, I will be able to network with student reps from all over the country. In doing this, I will have the chance to learn more about school board and ways we can do better. Logan and our student networking group brought forth the idea of this and the other student representatives from Washington to plan to attend this conference for the same reason. And I do realize that I might not be a student rep on the board if we went to this at that time, but it would be something that I would advocate to our next student rep. That is important. The last one is just kind of some random important information. Oh wait, just kidding, I have one more after that. Our attendance to this conference is solely based upon board approval and possible sponsorship. WASDA is in no way sponsoring this trip, nor will they be responsible for providing chaperone-type accommodations. This being said, there will be WASDA members there we can coordinate with to participate in the associated activities coordinated by them. As a minor, or for any student representative, I do not have a chaperone to attend this event, I do have to have a chaperone to attend this event. Whether it is another board member or guardian, Director Prowse has volunteered to go, as she is the student representative mentor, and anyone else is welcome. If I am a student rep attending and a board member is not able to chaperone, my mother, Jennifer Garza, who is also an employee of the district, could attend with me and gain valuable information from this conference. In conclusion, this would be an amazing opportunity for our board to gain valuable knowledge, and I would like to request, as previously mentioned, that the board discusses this and decides whether we may go and be sponsored / funded by the Othello School Board. This is, however, rather urgent, and we would need to register soon, by the end of this month, I believe. And from what I understand, we have another meeting this month. Not entirely sure how funding and approval of this works, but if it needs to be voted on and approved, and that can't happen during this meeting, we might add it to the next meeting's agenda. So, if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will answer to the best of my ability.
I have that DOP, the District Operating Policy, up, and so do you want me to read that?
Please.
The board recognizes that field trips, when used as a device for teaching and learning integral to the curriculum, are an educationally sound and important ingredient to the instructional program of the schools. Such trips can supplement and enrich classroom procedures by providing learning experiences in an environment beyond the classroom. Field trips which take students out of the state or keep students out of the district overnight must be approved in advance by the board. Outdoor education residence school plans will be presented to the board for annual approval. I don't remember seeing those, but that's okay. The superintendent has the authority to approve all other field trips. The superintendent will develop procedures for the operation of a field trip or an outdoor education activity, which shall ensure that the safety of the student will be protected and that parent permission is obtained before the student leaves the school. Each field trip must be integrated with a curriculum and coordinated with classroom activities which will enhance its usefulness. Private vehicles may be used to transport students if approval is obtained in advance from the principal. No staff member may solicit students for any privately arranged field trip or excursion without board permission.
What's the rest of the board thing? Any questions for Elise?
So is this just for you or both of you?
It could be for however many people the board approves to go.
Okay, so since we have 2 student reps, we could,
Send
Okay.
both. Mhm.
Or the entire board, really.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, it's kind of similar to the WASDA conference, how whoever chooses and is able to go can go.
okay.
We just have to be registered.
Consuelo, is this something you would like to attend or have the ability to?
I would like to attend. I'm just not entirely sure if I could attend, but I can figure that out when the time comes.
And Director Prowse, you're ready to go if,
I mean, I definitely encouraged Elise to do this presentation and shoot her shot, and I think she did a super great job. I think I could figure it out. Yeah. If I couldn't, maybe Jen could, or Sharon, or like she said, maybe her mom could go.
I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think it's awesome that you found it. I definitely think that we should consider it for all those that are interested. I know that there's an expense, but we have been much better as a board about doing state advocacy. Why should we not also be thinking federal advocacy? We have 2 state senators that, thank you for nodding, I need that confirmation, that we could meet with, whoever is able to go. I think that this would be a great opportunity and gives us some time to like do our own research and know what we need to say so that we sound like we're informed. Because I wouldn't say that I am right now.
okay.
Same.
So I, for one, think it's a good idea. I think it's beneficial that Director Prowse will make it work. I'd love to, if possible, that both our student reps go. Elise, I appreciate your candor in acknowledging that by the time of this conference, perhaps you won't, but I think it'd be a great asset that you could pass on to whoever takes your place.
So the only concern is maybe not the right word, but thing that I have realized is there is a board meeting in the middle of this conference. It
The
is the
dates are a little
24th.
funny because it's like a
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
It's like a
or
Sunday, Monday,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then the pre-conference is on a Saturday. And so it is weird dates. And so we could change our board meeting. It would be our second board meeting for January. Or we could, those that attend could try to Zoom it, but the reliability of that possibly, I would.
Are you considering going, Director Stevens?
I would love to. I am concerned about expenses. I mean, to get a ticket to DC at this time, I have no concept of what that even is. But I think that we should send as many people as we feel like we can afford, number 1, and are willing and able to go, number 2.
I will add, because I've been talking with the Moses Lake student rep, she's trying to go as well, and her board hasn't approved it because of funding, and so she mentioned that they're going to try to do fundraising, so I don't know how well that would work or how it's going to go, but I could talk to her about that.
Does the district have, let's talk funds. I mean, what's the reality there?
Yeah, I think if you give us the direction that you'd like us to pursue this and we have a general idea about how many people we're talking about, then, you know, as early as tomorrow, we can begin processing and get I think a budget determined to see what is appropriate, and that would just take a couple of days for us to to provide that information to the board. So I don't, I think registering a couple people and a couple of plane tickets, it's certainly something that fits within the superintendent's budget or the board's budget. And I think around the professional learning that you've described and the benefit that you all seem to think it would provide to the system, we could find a way to make it happen.
I think it sounds wonderful. Listening in on some of the, and I think you guys were in the room, I couldn't tell, that have you get in groups and talk, and it's special ones just for the student reps was really exciting. I could just feel you guys having this adrenaline there of something new. I would not think I can go because my calendar just got filled for the whole January with my family filling it in. But I would look, but I would certainly love to see the girls go.
And as far as activities for student reps, from what I understand, I talked to Logan Andres from WASDA a little bit about it. The conference specifically has a couple things for student reps, and then WASDA will also be there, and they will be doing a couple of their own things for student reps.
They were
Okay,
pretty
well,
cool.
I'm not able to go myself either. So I think if you two are available, get together with Marisa, Consuelo, as soon as you can find out. That would help her in the planning and the process of developing this budget. But I agree with Superintendent. I think we're well within being able to do this. I think there'd be great value in this, especially if we go there with the right state of mind and we're there to absolutely bring value back to this board and the ideas that will be learned there. I think it'd be a great thing. So the sooner you guys can get together with Marisa or Pete, they can put that together.
I would say, Marisa, maybe count for 4 of us.
Yeah.
Two adults, 2 kids.
Definitely.
I think so. All right, moving on. NSBA Conference in April. Is that registration open, Marisa, or has anybody decided?
What is the early deadline for that?
I believe it's December 15th.
That is
So
right
as
around-
soon as anybody is ready to make a commitment to that, as well, please notify Marisa or Pete about that. Next, we have our book study that we postponed, put off till January. I didn't check, Pete, do we have any dates in the calendar for that?
I
should
think it
look
was
at
the
that.
first meeting in January.
Yeah,
wasn't
the dates are in there.
That's what I read.
Addition to the director discussions was to get some clarity from you all about whether or not we were going to start that up, or do you want us to push it back a bit?
Well, I think if we're going to have them gone, the next meeting, we're kind of like not making the full commitment that it's going to take.
Yeah,
Seems like
maybe
there's an awful
maybe
lot
push
going
that a
on.
little bit.
I
To the
say,
first meeting in February?
let's take it to at least February, the
Yeah.
first meeting in February.
Because we could still have a
Bring it
meeting
back.
with 3 of us, can't we? If you 2 are both
Yeah.
gone.
If everything that is voted on is unanimous?
Taken care of, so we wouldn't have to
Yes.
cancel the meeting.
Right.
So I just don't think we want to start this book study and put it off, then go
Mhm.
one and then go, maybe miss 2 or 3 weeks and try to go back. And
Agreed.
Yep.
I'd like to push it off myself personally.
I'm okay with that. We'll get together on this again on the first meeting in February. Moving on to student representatives for 2022, I see that we have a targeted schedule of interviews for the 24th.
If this conference happens, the advocacy, we cannot do the 24th. I mean, that's my view. We
Yeah.
should not do the 24th. We would have to go to the first meeting in February, or the first meeting in January, which is really rushing it.
And I think just like the item above about the book study, that's great feedback for us. We assume that's where you'd want to take it. So we'll adjust the calendar, and each time that we upload the edited PDF, you should see that reflected. So we'll bump it back into February.
Okay. Very good. Our plus deltas are mentioned there. I think that is working for a evaluation method for our meetings, so thank you all for participating there. Okay, moving on to item B3. We will execute a couple oaths tonight. I will begin by administering the oath of office to our superintendent. So I'll ask Pete if we can come up front over here to get this done.
I want to get up and take a picture. Is that okay?
Yes.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me if you would. I, Pete Perez,
I, Pete Perez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Washington,
and the state of Washington,
and will faithfully perform the duties
and will faithfully perform the duties
of Superintendent of Othello School District Number 147
of Superintendent of Othello School District Number 147
in the County of Adams,
in the County of Adams,
State of Washington,
State of Washington,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Very good.
Congratulations. Should I move so I'm not right in the middle of everybody's thing?
If you would like to.
I would like to not be right in the middle.
All right, we'll now move on to do oath of office for the two members that are here tonight that were reelected, and Pete will administer the oath.
I think we sworn in one student, not the other. Oh, are we doing one at a time, or do we do it together?
Yeah, we'll do one at a time. Gonna do the whole right hand. I state your name,
I, Lindsay K. Prowse,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
of Othello School District Number 147,
of Othello School District Number 147,
Adams County, State of Washington,
Adams County, State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Sorry. Will you take that? Oh, yes, I guess so. Can you take mine when I'm? Thank you. Okay. No, just a photo. Okay.
I state your name,
I, Jen Stevenson,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
of Othello School District Number 147,
of Othello School District Number 147,
Adams County, State of Washington,
Adams County, State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right, signed, sealed, and delivered. Congratulations, both of you. Okay,
Thank you.
moving on to item B4, student representative reports.
I got a report from DOHS. So, we had a great turnout for our Thanksgiving lunch. And thank you to those who were able to attend. Sorry. We would also like to thank the dining services for helping us set that up. We greatly appreciate them. So DOHS and OHS third newsletter ever was sent out. On it, we congratulated our Students of the Month and Perfect Attendance Award winners. And congratulations to Carlos Aguilera for winning the Sand Hill Crane Festival Drawing Contest. And we continue to work with our students who are failing multiple classes by inviting them to attend our after-school evening homework club. We have seen great improvement, but we still have room for growth, and our goal is to pass as many classes as possible this semester.
Excuse me just for one moment, Elise. Mike, could I respond to a question that Consuelo asked me? I think it was at the last board meeting about college site visits for students at DOHS. So I had an opportunity to meet with regional directors of Gear Up, and I asked them your question, Consuelo, and they assured me that students who attend DOHS could attend Gear Up field trips with Othello High School students. So that is a possibility.
Awesome.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, I will admit I'm not as prepared as Consuelo. We are full swing in finals week through college, so that's been interesting. Anyways, so I'll share what I know. I know that the choir has a concert tonight, and I'm pretty sure it's combined with the middle school and high school. The band had a concert last week. Same thing. I think it was combined. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I saw some videos and they were good. National Honor Society has an induction ceremony this Wednesday. All of you are welcome to attend. I think it's at 7 o'clock, but I'll get back to you guys on that. And then I just have a couple clarifying questions about, because I know in the near future we're going to be doing student rep interviews. And so for one, I wanted to clarify, am I allowed to run again?
I say yes. I think that anyone could always apply as long as they meet whatever the requirements are. And I think that those requirements are a student at one of our high schools and passing all of your classes. Do we have a requirements list anywhere now that we do not have policy governance?
That was also one of my questions, because I also know, as a running start student, does that disqualify me?
I can't imagine it would.
Do you know where it's at?
I don't have it handily available here, but I guess I would say, just thinking about what we learned at WASDA about student advocacy and student participation, I know there was some caution about even having GPA requirements and those kinds of things. If a student was being a successful citizen and participating at school, that certainly we would encourage all students to apply, and I think our running start students are certainly Othello School District students. And I guess my perspective, if you're asking my opinion about it, would be open to any and all students in our 9-12 system.
Not trying to dissuade you or anything, but I don't know, and this is a question for my fellow board members. Is it for a year when we choose these folks? And seeing as how come June, at least would
In
be,
June, Consuelo's,
yeah, but at least would be gone if she ran again and we.
no.
No,
She's
I'm
a
only a
junior.
junior.
Oh,
Yeah.
disregard my question.
I know we lose Consuelo in June,
Okay.
because you graduate, right?
Yes, Consuelo, you will.
Yes.
Greg.
I can't imagine the board's ever had this as a problem before,
No.
where you have someone running wanting to stay.
No.
So I would say yes, apply, Elise.
I concur
and-
with Pete's assessment of
Yes.
who it's available for, and I'm even of the opinion, if it's not stated anywhere, that we redo, and I'd like to listen to the WASDA recommendation about the grade and everything else, to see if that's something that we agree with, to modify even our.
So at the
requirements.
student rep conversations, at the breakout sessions and such, it was that they shouldn't have like a high GPA. It shouldn't have to be like 3.5 or above, or 3.8 was kind of the gist I was getting from most of the students.
Yeah.
So I
But
pulled up,
That's
Under-
that's not what ours says anyways.
okay, I pulled up what the policy governance version
Oh.
is, that we've never, from what I can see, put into the DOPs. This is what it said then, and we need to figure out how to move this and what we want to say. Requirements for consideration: 1, a minimum 2.0 GPA with no failing grades in their most recent completed semester. Attendance data will also be considered. But I have to say, I don't know if we ever check that either. So that needs to be something that we ask a principal to check or something, and just give feedback if there's ever a problem. 2, attendance of a policy governance training administered by the board or board-approved presenter. That would not be the case anymore, but I know that the student reps and I think a few of us have had a conversation about a training has been requested for student reps. Number 3, completed application and essay. Number 4, on time for interview by school board. Then their terms. Appointed 2 times each year to serve the following 1-year terms: January 1st to December 31st, July 1st to June 30th. Responsibilities of student representative, and then we need to modify those, because
Jen-
those are not accurate anymore.
Is that the one that Lauren and I had edited a little bit with the responsibilities part? Or is that different?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is the one that we modified, but since we are no longer policy governance, we need to take what we want out of this. So we need to put that in policy review. If we can take it out of GP 14.1, I think is what this is. I just did a search for student reps. And then put it as, just email it to me and then I'll modify it and propose some changes for the December 15th meeting. We can't vote on it at that meeting anyways, so it would be a first reading. And then we can discuss what we want to, and maybe I'll even consult with both of you and say, here's my thoughts, what do you think? Because there's a lot of things that we liked in there. We just need to make sure that it's current. So, that's.
Agreed. All right, just make sure you maintain contact with the district. And if there's anything you guys would like to see, Peter, any recommendations that you guys would like to bring forth, that'd be a good time to.
Yep, I think what I heard was you want us to find access to GP 14.1. We'll send that to Director Stevenson. She'll recommend some edits, and we'll add it to the agenda for consideration on the meeting on the 15th, but then would vote for approval at the first meeting in January.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Right.
Mhm.
Under ideal circumstances, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess one logistical question, would the board be comfortable with us looking at the application form that we've used, so we're not waiting to mid-January to prepare for interviews at the 1st of February?
Yes, I agree. And then another weird thing about it is that if the term is January 1 to December 31st, but we're not interviewing until the 24th, that student rep is in that position until, I mean, that's kind of like what I would propose is that's kind of an unwritten rule. We keep that student rep in until there's a specific replacement.
For a year, at least, at a minimum.
No, but what I'm saying is Elise stays in until we replace Elise with either Elise or someone else.
Yeah, and I'm saying, if it's in February that we make this decision, that it goes through February. and
Yes.
Give ourselves some, yeah.
Like a training period.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
My other question was, do we want student voice and opinion, not even just student reps, but like student voice in general on possible new reps? Like, say, Consuelo and I went and did a survey or went class to class or something and did like, hey, who do you think would be a good student rep? Because I know one thing that was talked about in the breakout session of student reps was that a lot of school boards have their teachers nominate their future student representatives, and a lot of student reps felt very strongly that that was not a great representation of student voice, because it's like the typical straight A student, whatever, myself, I guess.
I think it should be open to whoever wants to.
Yeah. And I think that our superintendent, Pete, has put together a pretty well-rounded group of student leaders in his new advisory council. And I'm hoping that that's going to generate some interest. That, along with your guys' passion you came home from WASDA with. And then hopefully that will also roll over into NSBA and really generate some excitement about what it is to be a student rep on the school board. So, and maybe at some point when we are together with that student advisory council, you guys can talk about your experience at WASDA and in Washington, D.C., if we have the opportunity to make that happen. But I think that advisory council has a really great range of students and was really well put together. So hopefully next time we have 20 people applying for student rep.
Right.
I mean, probably not, but
Indirect
fingers crossed.
answer to your question, I think that would be amazing. But for you to get to every advisory class
Yeah, is a
and all of
lot.
those kinds of things, Consuelo, I don't know if you're on board with that idea,
Well,
but that would be great.
it wouldn't be a big deal for me because a running start is completely online and I have nothing to do from now till the end of January, so.
I'm sure that your mother could find more painting projects for you. I'm sure she already has found plenty of projects.
I thought also when I was listening in at WASDA, didn't they want you not to have just like your student council or your.
Yes, so that's
not
what
to
I'm.
Yeah.
more of a choice of everyone to have this opportunity, so.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying is like not.
Not like ASB
Yes,
stuff.
Yeah,
that's what I meant,
yeah.
yes.
So when it comes from the voice of students as to who they would want to represent for English is hard, who they would want to represent them is what I was trying to get at.
I would say, Elise, if you have this idea, get that approved first of all from the principal so he knows what you got going on. Whether mom gets you more house projects, that's, I don't think, here nor there. But I wouldn't want you to lose the momentum that you have going for you and just the tenacity that you guys are going with. So if it's approved by the principal that you're going to be doing something, I don't think that would hurt any way, shape, or form the process. That's just me.
Okay, that was all I had. Just some questions. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you both. Moving on to item C1, I will entertain a motion to approve required approvals.
I will make a motion to approve required approvals.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve account payable warrants 2.
I propose we approve accounts payable warrants 2.
Motion's
Second.
been made by Director Stevenson, seconded by Director Prowse. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to item C3, Superintendent informational items.
Yeah, just a couple items for the board this evening. I'm going to start with the DOP 3241 procedure. I think it was at the last board meeting you all approved a change to one of your policies related to student discipline to make sure it was in alignment with best practices in the state and WASDA's recommendations. What we have provided here for you is a sort of side-by-side look of what had been our procedure, which doesn't require board approval, as I understand it, same in the policy governance world, but our interpretation of your policy. And so the work that you'll see below, the second PDF, the updated DOP, that was work in the primary by our administrators and stakeholder groups that they met with last spring and into the summer. And I think you'll see the revision date on this as July of this past year. So we just wanted to let the board know, following adjustments to board policy, that our practice will be to follow up with the procedure changes as well. So the determinations that you made as a board, how does it impact our work? And so we just wanted to provide that information for you.
I do have a question about weapons. So, both for K-6 and for 712, having a possession of a weapon at all, whether it's intent to use or not, is emergency expulsion. I guess I wanted to clarify, maybe I need to clarify what is the definition of a weapon, and let's just start with that first.
Yeah, so the technical definition of a weapon, certainly if any student had a firearm on campus, something like that. There are definitions that we use with our partnerships with the Othello Police Department about the size of a blade. Or so you imagine if a student had a small pocket knife or a nail clipper that had sort of a file on it that might be viewed as a knife, those kinds of things. Those are conversations that we would have with the individual student, with the administrator, with the family, thinking about intent for those smaller items. The idea about emergency expulsion is it really gives the district an opportunity, if we think there's an immediate danger, to put that student out, to have a chance to talk with the family, to talk with the students, to talk with the adults that work at the school, and then make the best determination for the system. So the emergency expulsion gives us some flexibility and freedom to make sure that everyone can feel safe at school.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that was basically what my question is, a pocket knife compared to a gun. Sometimes I accidentally walk on campus with my pocket knife that also has scissors in it, or scissors in my purse for when I'm hand stitching things that I was like, oh, these could actually be a weapon. I could get in trouble. That I mean, I have sons, and they have walked on campus with pocket knives, and sometimes they've been found, and sometimes they haven't, unintentionally. I need to explain that. And so to hear that there is intent is taken into account is important, but that also when I hear about knives showing up on campus also under other circumstances, I want to make sure that, I guess that is, what I'm saying is that is the intent of my questioning, to know and to understand those details. So thank you for clarifying that.
I did just want to add, to make you feel better, the administrators usually are pretty understanding about it. I know personally I've brought pepper spray onto school property numerous times and had it confiscated, so they're pretty understanding about it, like obviously non-intentional, so.
Right.
Yeah, I guess just a couple of comments. One is just I think a philosophical view that the unfortunate nature of the student experience in our country for the last almost 20 years now, practicing lockdown drills, thinking about active shooter experiences, school districts considering arming staff, and what that does to our system, to our adults, and to the kids that have to deal with that every day. It's here in black and white. Lots of folks want to live in the black and white. What are the rules? What are not the rules? I think the very difficult work, and the reason that we are excited about the folks that are leading the work in our system, is the tough decisions are in the gray. What was the purpose? What was the intent? What was really going on? And ultimately, what I want to believe about our system is that we're looking out for the best interests of every student. The student who might feel not safe on our campus, or the student that maybe thought they had to bring something to school because they didn't feel safe. Those instances are few and far between in the Othello School District. But again, from watching media across the country, we see it's the unfortunate reality of schools in America today. But I'm proud of the people who are leading our work around social emotional learning, the people that are leading our work around school safety, and the investment that the board and the community has made in making sure that our schools are as safe as possible. And I hope that all our constituents feel like their kids are safe every day that they come to our schools.
I appreciate, Pete. Kudos to anybody who's been involved with this. And I like that it's you guys are making sure this is updated, relevant to stuff that is actually going on. So kudos to the entire, whoever all is involved with this.
Thank you. The next superintendent item is around the DARE program update. Perhaps some of you as parents or as students participated in DARE. I think Director Prowse was part of that program, and others in the room perhaps. We had an opportunity to connect with Chief Schenk and our SRO, Aaron Garza. I had an opportunity to meet with them, John Wiseman, our Director of Professional Learning, to have a discussion about some training that our SROs have gone through to deliver the DARE curriculum. It's about a 10-week course, 1 hour per week, that happens in our grade 5. They've had an opportunity to present that information to our building principals. They've had conversations with them about whether or not it's appropriate to start it this year. So I wanted to give the board a heads up that we're going to give it a try. A couple of our elementary schools are going to work with Chief Schenk and his staff to develop the logistics to make sure they can provide it. What I was encouraged by in seeing the new curriculum and the updated curriculum, it's really a decision-making model. That idea about risky behaviors and making good decisions. It doesn't have the focus on I remember as a teacher early on, many of the lessons were on drug identification and those kinds of things, and just say no. This curriculum is very, very different. It really is about decision making and friendships and partnerships and those kinds of things. It's also, I think, in hearing from Chief Schenk, an excellent opportunity for us to think about something that he calls police legitimacy and community policing, getting our officers in a community our size in our schools in a positive and productive way. So it's really enthusiastic, a lot of enthusiasm from SRO Garza and from Chief Schenk. And so our building principals are going to give it a shot. So if you hear kids in the community or families talking about what's going on with DARE, we'll update you and report it along the way and see how it goes. But we're going to give it a shot here after the first of the year.
Yeah, I like that.
I love that. I mean, I loved DARE. How come DARE went away? Why did that stop being a thing? Was it just not effective?
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple of points I would share with the board. One is that and we talked about sort of the nature of American schools today around school violence. There are segments of our country and in our state who are not in support of police being on a school campus at all. School resource officers in some communities and school districts are a no-go, a non-starter. So that and then there's some evidence around, and Chief Schenck was really clear in this, the adjustments that have been made to the DARE program, so they're now evidence-based. Hey, if we do these things, we get these outcomes. I think the evidence around the first iteration of DARE didn't have that support. So DARE kind of went away. It wasn't having the impact or the intended results. Kids enjoyed it, and some kids remember those experiences. They know who their DARE officer was.
Yeah.
Did it make a difference for kids in the way that the law enforcement wished or the school district wished? Didn't happen. So this is DARE being responsive and adjusting that.
Nice.
Okay.
Is it just for fifth graders? And because like we're starting there, right? But is it something that could be spread to the older grades after if it's successful?
Yeah, so this specific curriculum is just for fifth grade students. But again, I think Chief Schenck's idea about community policing and our partnership with OPD and having SROs in our schools is that all our students, K-12, would have an opportunity to interact with them. So, you know, it's sort of a restart in a way, but I think an exciting restart for the
Good.
system.
Great.
I think that was one of the best programs.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's great.
Clarifying question, Pete. You mentioned that a couple of the schools were gonna,
Yeah, so I guess I'll just be more specific. My understanding after the administrator meeting on Wednesday were that Hiawatha, Scootney, and Luticaga had already confirmed participation and were working on the logistics. And Principal Sandy Anderson was going to check in on whether or not it was going to happen this year or we were going to wait a year.
Okay.
But we've given them the flexibility and the autonomy to make that decision. And Chief Schenck was completely good with. They're going to try a couple of different models at each school to try and deliver the lessons in a way that doesn't take away teacher time and student time, contact time, but gives them a fair shot to implement the curriculum.
very good.
Makes
I just, that was the reason for my question. Wanted to make sure that it was inclusive of at least offering it to everyone.
Mhm.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions for those? Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. Moving on to item D1, we have a mid-year report on the superintendent annual goals.
Yep, so appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about where we're at as a system and where I'm at as a superintendent. I think we're about 8 months into this project. I think it's important tonight that we acknowledge I guess I acknowledge the seriousness of the work. You know, you take an oath, and I think the value of having an oath ceremony, not only for board members who have been on the board before, and for me annually to remind me about the importance of the position, the privilege of the position, and the responsibility that comes with that position. I've tried to be very clear with the board and with the community about my perspective around student learning, and you know, I will say it here today and say it every chance I get an opportunity to talk about my own progress and goals, that if students are struggling in the Othello School District, it's on me. That's why you all have hired me, and that's why I have this position. And I with that responsibility comes a right to help direct the work and talk about the learning that the adults need in our system so that more students have success. And so today I want to talk with you a little bit about what we've been learning over the last 8 months. You've seen a couple of these visuals before. This is that idea about nested goals. And at the heart of that is what we're talking about today, the goals that the board established for me as the superintendent. I will briefly talk about my own personal superintendent goals, and then also talk about the building goals and the themes that have been shared with me by our building administrators. That outside piece about the graduate profile and OSD benchmarks, it's reflected in this presentation, but primarily we'll be focused on the heart of those concentric circles. My own superintendent, my own leadership goals, and how those connect to the board goals, and this idea that we're a governance team, the 6 of us working together to get the work done. I just wanted to remind you that I had talked about a seamless transition related to the leadership and the superintendency, providing support at the school building level, and building the capacity of all the adults in our system. And I had established a goal of being in school 25% of my day, of my work week, spent in schools. And so I just wanted to remind you about those individual goals. The next slide provides, I think for you, a recollection of what the building principals shared with you in August when we had our retreat. And I think it's important that when they've presented to you this year, after your site visits, that they call back to these. This is what they identified as important to them when the school year started, and these ideas continue to be important. And what I think is encouraging about what you're going to hear about the progress that we've made so far is my work is reflected in their work, and that's how it should be designed. So I wanted just to remind you about what each of the buildings said their individual goals were this year. Those goals can be summarized in these broad themes: data systems, knowing how our kids are doing, knowing what we're doing as adults makes a difference for our students, how we work together as adults, so professional learning communities, that's certainly reflected quite clearly in one of my goals. Thinking about the instructional core and understanding that the most important part that happens in our system day to day is what happens between the students, the teachers, and the content, and that the curriculum and the materials that we're considering and using every day are, they're accepted by the board, they're adopted by the board, and they meet the community standards and expectations. And that's an ongoing process. That work never stops. So I'll remind you, these are on our board agenda each time, but these are the 3 goals that have been established for me. One is around professional learning communities in the school district. The other one was around accountability measures. And then a third goal around facilities. And that one for me, quite honestly, has been the heaviest lift. As someone who spent, over 20 years working in schools, thinking about teaching and learning, and certainly quite a bit the last few years as the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning, I got to dabble in facilities, but I'm learning an awful lot, and I understand the importance of that goal, so I'm excited to share the progress there. We're going to go one by one for the board. So this first one is about the professional learning communities, and I think big picture, this is how are the adults in the system working together to get great outcomes for our students. So I wanted to share what I think is progress, my progress and effort towards making that happen. One is around me being in schools. And so in September and October, I was there about 7 hours a week. We're trying to get the system launched, trying to get the logistics figured out. And in November and December, we've made it to that 25% threshold. So we're just over that. We're going to find that sweet spot, the sweet spot for me to be on site, and the sweet spot for the principals so they don't feel like I'm there too much. There's going to be a fine line there. So we're going to test that here over the next few months, but that is going really, really well. It's informing my understanding of the system, my understanding of how kids are doing, and my understanding of how staff is doing. And so being out there, I'm not sure I'd want to be in a superintendent in a school district where I wasn't in schools as much as I am. That's where the work is really happening. So me being out there is going really well for me. Around comprehensive data systems, the schools continue to push on 2 levers here, really. One is this text driven by data. It's a structure and a system that includes interim assessments, aggressive monitoring of student learning, those kinds of components. And then DataWise, which is this broad project that we have some expertise in our district that came from a Harvard Graduate School of Education. So those systems are beginning to take hold. You should understand that this is not 6-month work. This is 4 or 5 year work. It takes time for these systems to develop and take hold. It's deep learning for our staff and for our leaders. The other piece that's not going to be reflected in the presentation tonight is all of this is trying to happen in what is still a pandemic experience for students and staff. So my hope is that for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're going to continue to see some of these same efforts and some of the same push on the system, particularly around DataWise and driven by data. But our principals and our teachers are working so hard to implement these systems. Also around the professional learning communities is again, my opportunity to be in classrooms, to see what's happening around the instructional core, and making sure that my goals remain nested in theirs. How do I know? So we could have this structure where the board sets the goals, and then I set the goals, and we hope the schools can figure it out and they can all line up. What I have appreciated this school year is in August, the building set the goals, then I set some goals for me, and then the board set some goals. And I think it worked this way rather than this way. And I'm encouraged by the efforts that I'm seeing because it's authentic work. And we're going to keep pushing because the research says it's the right work. It's just a matter of enough time sticking at it. The next slide is around systems of accountability. And if you'll remember, we've met a couple of times, and I always enjoy showing you the slide with the pink pig, right, weighing the pig. So this is a slide about how are we going to weigh the pig? How often are we going to do it? And we've had an opportunity to share with you the performance benchmarks and where we're at in that work and the OSD graduate profile. Those continue to be a work in progress, getting feedback from our students, getting feedback from our staff. Those things are not locked in yet. They're continuing to be refined. And I think as we're fully staffed over the next several months and we move into this summer and continue to move post-pandemic, we'll really refine those and lock in on those for next school year. The interim assessments that are being developed by our teachers and by our administrators, those are up and running. Those are happening across our system. Those things are good to go. Those will continue to be refined every year because student needs change a little bit every year. But that, if you'll view these, the first two bullets, a work in progress, we're still going. The interim assessments, it's never going to stop. We're always going to be doing that work. But that is more refined than the first two. Again, my site visits and principal meetings, an opportunity to connect with them. Something else that we've implemented here in just in the last 4 months is an opportunity for me to sit down with just the site principals and just the directors. So it's a meeting, I think we're doing it once a month, where we sit down and they have an opportunity to let me know, here are the things that would help me do my work more efficiently. And those have been really, really helpful for the executive team in particular, because we're not guessing this about the support they need. We can hear from them directly. And so that's been a powerful opportunity for us to think about accountability and systems, a systems approach. The last one is this Superintendent Student Leadership Group. You all know that's a brand new idea. We just got it up and running. Now the way that we're talking about it, though, has been exciting. So I'm hearing from some of the directors, hey, that might be a topic for your next Superintendent Student Leadership Group, right? They don't have to, those are ideas that are coming out. Thinking about the master schedule for next year at Othello High School. Thinking about the facilities, those kinds of things that we're going to be able to leverage student voice, like Elise talked about a little bit earlier, and not be their voice, but create the conditions where we hear their voice. And I think putting that group together is going to inform all of this work. It really, really is. And as I described sort of this pyramid of building level work, my goals, and you establishing goals for me, we can't forget that at the foundation of that is what the students need. And we can determine what that is through these layers of assessments and listening to them. Tell us what you need. Listening to our community. What kinds of kids are we putting out? Listening to our employment sectors. What skills do our kids need? What's around the corner? What does Othello need? You've made a significant investment in our schools. How do we honor that investment and give you a product that we can all be proud of? The next slide is around the facilities and coming up with a 5, 10, and 15-year plan. So one of the things that I always said to myself as a building principal, and I continue to say it in the roles I've had at the central office, it's first who, then what. First you get good people, then you decide what you're going to do. And so the work that Greg Foltz and Gina Bullis have done around this project in particular, with the bond that you all have approved and are asking the community to consider, I think we should all be very proud of that work. But I should acknowledge that that's not my work. That's work that they led and expertise that they have. So I want to acknowledge them for what they've done around that. Putting together that facility planning work group and now the committee to think about how do we educate the community about where we're at with the bond. Having said that, the outcome in February will really determine what we report to you next. So my commitment to you all was to bring coherence to this work, to get some momentum, and then think about the next steps. And so I feel really good about having delivered on that. We brought coherence to all the work that's happened around the last 4 or 5 years. We were able to get that organized with a solid community group and put something for the community to consider. Now we'll wait on that. We'll get some feedback from the community, and then we'll decide next steps. But I say with a lot of confidence that following that outcome, we'll be able to hand over a 5, 10, 20-year plan so that kids that we might not even work with are going to have the facilities and the buildings they deserve. So really excited about the progress that we've made there. The next slide is just a reminder of those goals, that we continue to keep them in front of us. We continue to keep them in front of you because they're on every board agenda. and know that we appreciate that our work is aligning with the goals you've established with us, and it feels like we're in sync with where we're headed. The last slide is around systems thinking, and I've shared this with you in a variety of ways. And what I appreciate about the opportunity tonight is we're getting some organizational feedback. It's causing us to reflect on the work that's happening and how things are going. We're going to get some feedback from you, at least I am as an employee, over the next several weeks as you do my mid-year evaluation. We're going to hear from our student leadership groups. We have some assessment data that's coming in. Now we have to decide as a system, what do we need to learn about so that our kids can learn more? What are our kids telling us? What do we need to learn about so they can learn more? Up in the right-hand corner this time, you'll typically see this slide when I share it with you with the benchmarks and the graduate profile. But I think it's important to think about this feedback in a broader way. Certainly the benchmarks and profile are part of that, but the work that's happening with DataWise and Driven by Data, the principals and their leadership teams and the building goals they put together. I'm out in those buildings trying to understand what's happening, hearing from the folks that are doing the work, bringing that story to you so that we make the right decisions moving forward. Interim assessments that our students are dealing with on a daily basis, and putting together this facility plan. All that stuff gives us feedback to help us decide what to do next. What's the next best move? And if we make enough right moves with enough momentum, that thing will really get going and kids will really learn more. So I appreciate the opportunity again to provide that update to the board, to let you know that I view this position again as a position of privilege and a position of responsibility, but also it gives me the opportunity and the right to help make the best decisions I think that the system needs. And I appreciate the team of folks around me that help me think about that with so much clarity, that tonight just feels like an opportunity to share the work and to celebrate all the hard work that the people in our system have been doing in what has been a very challenging couple of years. Very, very challenging. So thank you for the opportunity to share that and share the work.
Any questions?
No, but I just want to thank you, Pete. I like the paperwork that we can look at it and take it home and study it versus trying to see the board up there. And I think that your whole team is doing a wonderful job. And I know where your heart is, and so, but I think that's where our heart is, for the education of the children of Othello. So thank you, everyone.
Student reps, I want to hear you talk. What do you think?
I enjoyed your report. I thought that all the things that you're doing are really good, and I mean, we see that every day in every board meeting. We hear about it. I just can always be so glad to have the student leadership group, so that's my biggest thing to be grateful for.
I really enjoyed it, and I really like the goals that are all set up and very, very well explained. So yeah, it was very good, and I really enjoyed it.
I've heard comments over and over again. I've seen Pete in our buildings more than I've ever seen a superintendent in the time I've worked in Othello School District. I've heard that a ton of times, so that's really exciting to hear. I know it hasn't been without its challenges, but I have felt in the last 5 months that the best I have felt since I've been on the board, and definitely the most excited about moving forward with, I mean, just the facilities plan. Like you said, the word that stood out to me the most that you used was comprehension. Nope, it was coherence about the facilities plan. Because there was just so many things that just were not making sense to me, and you have just done such a great job of putting that into a way where it's like so easy to follow, and so it just feels like there's some camaraderie that the community can get behind, the board is behind. We're behind you. You're a great leader for this district, and I'm super appreciative of everything that you have done and your team. I know you don't do it alone, but you've been a great leader and a great mentor to this board, and I appreciate it, so thank you.
So when I opened up and read that this was on the agenda, I was like, oh, really, already?
Right.
And I thought, but yeah, this is when it should be happening. And so I appreciate that you're keeping us on top of it more than anything. and that the goals are so clear and concise that we can see. I mean, it's not like just oh, done, check the box. None of them are. None of them will ever be. But that you have your own goals that you still share with us, but that we have board goals for you as well, and that you have to sometimes remind us these are different, but that you do. Thank you, and that you're very transparent about, hey, this is not in my wheelhouse and I'm not awesome at this, but we've got the right people. And that it's always about the people, and it's not, I think that much of what you're hearing is you, but I know that you set it up that we have the right people to be the we. And I appreciate that and that's the way that you lead, that you have the right people on the bus so that the bus can go fast. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just sum it up by thanking you for the report. Director Prowse said coherence with the facilities plan. I say coherence to the entire mission and the vision of the district, Pete. And it started at the retreat when everybody set their goals or put their goals out there, and then your goals were set. And the fact that they're intertwined is what it is, with the ultimate goal of the kids being at the center of everything we're doing. Your accountability piece to keeping the adherence of every principal, every director to the plan. The acknowledgement, I mean, quality of a great leader, which you are, is to acknowledge that it takes a village. And every time and every opportunity, I know as a leader that I have to congratulate or be appreciative of my team. You do the exact same thing. There's something that you said at a meeting that struck me hard, and I haven't even told you that I appreciated your comment. I was kind of down, and you said something about, yeah, it can look weary, and I'm not paraphrasing it, but this was your intent, I'm sure. You said, but the last thing that I'll lose is hope in what we're doing. And the last thing I'll do is lose the hope in the Othello School District in the midst of a pandemic still, in the midst of some things that people can see as stagnant perhaps. Progress is being made. We're going forward. Director Prowse said she's in the last 5 months felt the momentum. I concur with that, and it stems from the right person at the top. So thank you for this report. You acknowledge it yourself. There's a way to go yet, but I appreciate the fact that you're keeping us informed, and things are looking good. So thank you very much for this report. I appreciate it immensely. All right, moving on to item G1, upcoming events. Don't know if anybody has something that needs to be added
Well,
here.
we've modified those already.
Yeah, there's some changes been made. Yeah, the one we don't have up there is December 8th, my surgery. No, I'm just joking. Okay. Moving on to item G2, self-assessment of the meeting. Student reps, feel free to chime in if you'd like.
I like that we had student reps comment on not just student rep report throughout the meeting. We need to do that more often. But that also we discussed openly our student rep plans for the future, and realized also, oh, we got to tweak that policy, and that there was a procedure that we needed to be aware of, but it's not those things.
Okay. I was going to say, I think student rep engagement and as well as engagement with student reps was really great this meeting.
I love that we had a report from the student reps about a proposal. I would love those at every meeting. Consuelo, you're next. Just kidding. I just think that it's fabulous that, that you're ready and brave and on fire just to propose. So,
A highlight for me was the superintendent report and the updated goals. That was really great.
Length of meeting is a
Yep.
plus.
this is not anything that all of us could control. I mean, all of us have our individual controls, but we, without having every single one of us present, it makes challenges for us. And understanding that we all have lives and things that are happening within our own lives as well, for everyone up here. But
We're better together.
yes, we really need all of us to be fully functioning. We all bring different strengths and abilities.
Absolutely.
Well, that meeting, I think, is well planned, and we're staying on a timeline of having a timeline now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Some were a little over and some were under, and it made it work out. But yeah, you're right.
Kept us all in line, yeah,
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
just,
I like the fact that we're keeping our meetings relevant to
to what we have to
to
do.
what's going on.
yep.
Right.
And we've gotten better over time.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
I was reminded of one tonight when, because policy governance came up a couple times, things we need to pick up. And so this is a plus. I'm not sure how we'll write it. Maybe we'll write it the way I say it. If I can remember it. Participation was balanced. No one dominated. Like, that's how it felt tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's,
Yes.
I think that's how it was used to be written.
Yes, exactly that. Right.
Very good.
For me, Pete, that goes back to coherence, which is what you have brought to the board. Now, I know for myself, and I'm sure for Sharon, it feels like I can participate in a valuable way because I know what's going on.
Don't you
So-
think, Lindsay, we don't have to blame, we don't know anything anymore, because
Yeah.
we've gained a lot. This
Yes.
last 5-6 months is so much more knowledge for us, even with site visits. I just feel
Yep.
like the enthusiasm when we get there
Yeah.
and what we've gained from going there. So, yes, definitely.
If I can offer a word of encouragement or advice to any one of you, never feel like you can't say something or speak up. Are we gonna, from time to time, say something that probably isn't worded the best way? Absolutely, but that's part of learning. We're better together. We will talk to each other in a civil, respectful way, and we'll bring the result that's needed to make this board better. So I'm glad that you guys are finally okay to speak up and that it's balanced, so
Right.
that's good, and it's
Feel
just gonna get better.
comfortable. Right.
It's
right.
gonna get better, so no, thank you all for that. That's a great observation, Pete.
Not exactly tonight's meeting, I guess it was kind of prior, but getting the agenda earlier
Yeah.
was amazing because I actually knew what was going on the whole meeting.
Yay.
Great.
Awesome.
I guess another plus was the great discussions we all had. Everything was very clear and very well understanding of what is going on and everything.
All right, I think we had a great meeting. Thank you all. Let's stay safe. It's getting cold out there. Our meeting is concluded, so this